Welcome to today's live stream. My name's Lenny, this is Jake, and we're gonna be your host today. We're gonna be doing product research live, and we're gonna be showing you how to find a profitable product to sell on Amazon, just like this one that we actually do sell on Amazon for Jungle Scout, these washable pee pads. This product has made over $35,000 in profit just this year alone. So the strategies that we're gonna show you today will hopefully help you achieve a similar sort of success. So Jake, tell us, what are we gonna be doing?
Okay, so if this is your first time watching this series, this live product research series, you know that we do this category at a time, one category. And today's category is the pet supplies. And just like Lenny mentioned, we already sell a product in this category, so we're super excited to show you basically our process of how we found the product that we found. And to do that, we're going to mix it up a little bit. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have 2 sessions each of 15 minutes to find a product that meet a few criteria that Lenny will soon discuss here, and then look at the profitability as well. So we're gonna have 15 minutes on the clock to do this. And so there are 2 research methods here that we're gonna go through. The first one is using Opportunity Finder. The second one is using Product Database, 2 Jungle Scout tools. And we really encourage you guys to follow along with us. So if you have Jungle Scout, or maybe you're just looking to get started and you're familiar with some of our previous videos, you understand the tools, but especially if you have Jungle Scout, join us, replay the video. And I think this will be a really fun experience watching us basically go through our research process.
Absolutely. And so one other note, just as we get started here to kind of set up what we're looking for, is if we jump back into our slides, in front of you here is the 6 factors that make up a profitable product. Now, we've got high demand, low competition, high profitability, improvement potential, no legal or liability issues, and it's easy to sell, or there's ease to sell. Now, you don't necessarily need to have every single one of these for a product that you launch. It's unfortunately very rare that you do. It would be amazing if any product that you launched had all of these. But what I would say is that at an absolute least, you must have high demand. This is essential. So keep that in mind as we're doing product research today, or as you're following along. Specifically, the top priorities for us that we're gonna be looking at are high demand. We're also gonna be aiming for something that's got reasonably low competition, or low to medium competition in some instances, but also it has to have a high profitability. And we're gonna share some of the ways that we look for high profitability. So, what do you say, Jake? We dive right in?
Let's jump into it.
Okay,
yeah,
so we'll jump into your screen here.
Ready.
And should we put the timer on the clock, this 15 minutes?
Real quick, let's run through the filters. I feel like we should give ourselves a few extra seconds here.
Definitely, okay, let's
15 minutes is fast, and we're not gonna actually, be able to go through the whole entire process, but like Lenny said, hopefully we'll be able to check off those 3 criteria at the top. So real quick, especially if you have Jungle Scout, follow along with us here. I'm gonna show you the filters we're using today. So let's now walk through the first filter, and that's just choosing our marketplace. So we're in the United States, we're gonna sell in the US, of course, but if you live outside the US, you can choose one of these available marketplaces. And then for categories, remember, we're gonna be using the pet supplies category. So I'm just gonna select that one here. Now, these are the advanced filters that we're gonna use today, and this is gonna help set up the products that we look at to meet those criteria. So the first one Lenny mentioned was high demand. This is one of the most important factors, if not the most important factors. And for this, we'll use the first filter, average monthly units sold. How we gauge competition is products that sell on average of 300 units or more per month. In the way we look at it, that's a very high demand product because that's about 10 sales per day. So in the minimum field, we can add 300 there. And feel free to play around with these numbers as well. You can maybe shoot for 200, 500, whatever you want to start with. Now for low competition, we actually have this slider here. Remember, we're in the Opportunity Finder tool here within Jungle Scout. So instead of entering a review number, we're actually gonna have this really intuitive slider. I'm gonna move it to medium to start. But like Lenny said, we do wanna find low competition products as well, but I like to start at medium and then maybe bring it back down to low if we just can't find anything there. Also, we haven't really talked about this, but seasonality, you don't want to sell anything that's just going to sell during Christmas or Valentine's Day or just one holiday in particular. So I always like to drop this down to low or even medium in some examples. So I'm going to drop seasonality down to low here. And now let's move on to the last one, which is the profitability. So one of the best ways of finding profitable products is first just making sure you're selling something that's over $20. So in this minimum field here, I'm just gonna add it $20. For private label, which is the business model that we sell products in, $70 is what we found to be a good high end of the price range, because anything over that, it's gonna be very hard to convince a customer to buy from a new brand like yourself, a product with 0 reviews. So in that $20 to $70 price range is a really sweet spot for us. So with these filters in mind, let's go ahead and lock them in and click search. So that's now gonna search for every product that we said that we want to look for with those 3 criteria in mind. Now what we're looking at here is a table, Lenny, of about 79 different products with these above criteria mentioned. So what we can do is, we could filter by any of these columns here. Monthly search volume is a really interesting one that I personally like to filter for. And I think that's a really cool filter just to see like what people are typing in on Amazon. It's another great way of finding products. So we can do this for anything. One column I do want to mention is niche score here. We can actually enter that in up here as well as a filter. This is a grade of 1 to 10. So basically Jungle Scout's going around on listings and looking at basically the competition of all these different sub niches that we now get to look at here. And based on a scale of 1 to 10 is ranking it. Like 10 is a very, very strong niche and 1 is a very poor niche. So that's another column I like to look at personally. And you'll see the competition over here as well. So Lenny, with 79 different results here, what we would typically do is just look through this list. You can open up, if we just open up this top one here, and you'll see a bunch of different tabs like average monthly units sold, average price, search volume, seasonality. And so this is basically our process now. And so when we get this clock started, we're gonna be looking at these products and looking at all these different metrics to then dive deeper into that niche. So what do you think? Should we get the clock started? Or?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's put that on the screen. And
all right.
There we go. We got 15 minutes. So let's start looking through these results.
Okay, cool. So yeah, basically where we would start is just looking at the names. You don't want to sell anything, that has a brand to it. And oftentimes you will just find that some niches are so narrow or even so big that you'll see a brand name in here. Gravy Lovers Fancy Feast, for example, is a brand name, so we wouldn't want to add that. Or start looking into that. But I did actually like the first one we looked at, dog buttons for communication.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I have a TikTok and I've seen these all over TikTok where the dogs are basically just pressing buttons to say a command that they've now learned is the response back to the owner. So this could be fun.
Yes, I want to get that for my dog as well.
That'd be so smart. The dog would have to be smart. So I guess the first thing we can look at here, we know every product or sub niche in here meets our criteria, but it's still good to look through some of these tabs here, like average units sold over the past 2 years. We can really confirm, like maybe this is just a TikTok trend.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing here is not the case. About 2 years ago in December, it actually peaked at the top and it stays pretty consistent. Like I know it dropped from there, but it's always been over 300 monthly units sold, which again is our criteria. I do see a month here at 265, but that's probably the only other instance outside of maybe April of last year. So that's good. Average price, again, we want to make sure this is a $20 to $70 price range, and looking at it over time can help us confirm that it doesn't really peak or go down at all. In this case, it does look pretty consistent around that $30 to $40 price, $50 price range. Search volume is good as well, but just keep in mind that the search volume is based off of this exact phrase. So dog buttons for communication, that's a that's 4 words there, so that's kind of tough, but it's a good indicator as well. And you can see this one's trending upwards. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Seasonality, same thing that we talked about earlier. You don't want to sell anything seasonal, and this is really helpful to show you the peak times during the course of the year. And you'll see here the seasonality for this one is very low, and there's not even a peak month that we could identify. Now let's start looking at the top product. So if you didn't know what this product was originally like we did, this is a perfect place to start. You can, zoom in. You could actually click this icon to open up the listing on Amazon. And then again, you can use all these filters. These are basically the top products. If you were to run a search term for this term, these are the products that would show up here. So Lenny, so we have about 12 minutes left.
Okay.
What do you say we just dive into this product a little bit more?
Yeah, and just I suppose to recap real quick for what you just covered in those different 4 previous tabs, what you're really looking for there, if you're doing this as well, is you're looking for consistency. That's the great thing about Jungle Scout, is that you've got all this historical data. If you only have data from today or the last week, you don't know whether this product is going to continue selling at that rate. But everything that Jake just showed you there, we're looking to make sure that we can see that it's getting consistent sales, consistent search volume, and consistent seasonality. So just a little tip there to keep in mind. But like you said, yeah, let's dive into looking at some specific products here. Awesome.
So yeah, the first thing you can do is you can actually just do all your research right here and filter by monthly sales or whatever column that you want to start with. But what I like to do is just open up the actual search term on Amazon. So clicking this icon will run a search on Amazon for that term. And this is where we would do most of our analysis. So you could actually, if you have the Jungle Scout extension, you can refer to the overlays here. So we can see, for example, these are all sponsored products. I'd actually skip past this and start with the organic listings first. So you can see just at a real quick sneak peek, 2,000 monthly sales for this product, about 1,400 for that product, 2,400, so really high demand for these products, but I'm also seeing some pretty high reviews as well, which is how we're gonna determine competition. Now, a faster way of doing this analysis is by pulling up the actual extension and viewing it this way. So we have about 10 minutes now. So Lenny, I think we can basically confirm the demand, but we aren't fully there yet. This is where the extension comes into play. You still want to verify the demand as the niche as a whole. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm seeing a bunch of products here. I'm going to primarily look at the monthly and daily sales columns. Again, monthly sales over 300 would be a really strong indicator of high demand. And so Lenny, what are you seeing here? I'm seeing a lot of really strong demand for these top 10 products.
Yeah, so a lot of great demand. And like the point I mentioned earlier, we're looking for consistency as well. You don't necessarily want to see high numbers of sales, but only in, say, like the top two,
good point,
1 or 2 listings. You want to be able to see a lot of sales spread out amongst at least the top 10 or as much of that first page as possible. That tells you that if you can get into, say, that top 10 of search results yourself, then you've got a chance of capturing some of those sales. If it looks like only 1 or 2 listings are getting the majority of the sales, then it means that even if you're on that first page of results in the top 10, it's going to be hard for you to kind of break in and capture sales too. So that's what you're looking for. But to echo what you're saying, I'm seeing a lot of sales there. So I'm thinking, like, going back to what we're looking for here, I think we're ticking the box of high demand so far.
Definitely. Certainly. You could also shortcut that by looking at the average monthly sales up here at the top. That's looking at all 54 of these products on page 1. So if you just wanted to see the top 10, you can actually go through and click the X on some of these products. But that's a really good indicator. And then price is the next one. So, I'm sorry, let's go in order here. So competition is, for this, we're going to look at a few things. The rating number, which is actually the review number. Amazon now calls it reviews ratings. So that's named rating number. So typically, this is always very arbitrary, Lenny. We say like look for under 500, look for under 100 even on a per product level, or as a whole in the top 10, look for an average of 500, average of 1,000, or whatever the case is. So I guess really what I'd be looking at here, Lenny, is seeing how many of these products are selling well in our price range, which we'll cover next, are under like 100 reviews, 200 reviews, 500 reviews, or how many were recently launched this past year and are doing very well. So this date first available column will show you when the product was launched. And we see a lot of products here launched in 2022.
Yeah, right.
That are doing really well. So yeah, anything that you're kind of spotting here, how would you sort of rate the demand? Even though, this opportunity score is calling it a medium competition, would you agree with that? Would you?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's kind of like averaging out all of the rating numbers there. And by that methodology, yes, I suppose I'd call it medium. To be honest, if you look, it looks like the majority of like the top 10 there are actually really low. Those ones that you've highlighted there that are under 100, that's incredible. Of course, the big one that jumps out is there's that one listing right here, that's got nearly 5,000 ratings. So this is where I'd sort of go back, reference the monthly sales and see, like, is that listing also dominating the sales? And whilst it looks like it's basically one of the top seller or one of the top 2 sellers there, it's not capturing all the sales. Right. It looks like the listings above and below that don't have anywhere near as many ratings are still able to capture sales. So from that perspective, I'm more okay with selling against a listing that's got a high number of ratings or reviews. So
I agree.
For the most part, I think the competition is pretty low. Obviously, this is the one listing to look out for, but yeah, other people are proving that they're able to compete against it. So I think that means there's room for new sellers too as well.
So this is interesting. Just kind of digging into this a little bit deeper, and if I can zoom in, maybe that'll help you guys out watching. So this product that we're talking about here, Lenny, is, you know, it's dominating the reviews. It's basically dominating the sales along with this guy here. But what's awesome is it's doing it at $25, which is within our price range.
Yeah.
Now there's this one seller up here selling at $15, way below what we would like to sell it at. And so that's kind of concerning. But by just looking at the average price of this sub niche or niche on Amazon, it's $32 basically. That to me is awesome. Now I did notice this product here. So we have a column for who the seller is, and it's Amazon in this case. So that's probably a big reason why they're doing really well.
Interesting, yeah.
But then the rating number, so like the star rating number, they're actually at 3.8, which is one of the lower ones on here. That's another good sign that, of course, this is Amazon, so they're gonna get the sales regardless, I think. But for a seller that has less than a 4-star review, or rating, I should say, they're selling pretty well. So that gives me good confidence that, you know, we can come in potentially after looking at diving much more into it, sell the product and just improve the listing and the product itself and do pretty well. So with that in mind, Lenny, now we're talking about price. Let's move on to the last check, because I think we confirmed demand very, very high. To recap here, the competition is, you know, medium. I wouldn't say it's low. I wouldn't say it's high. So it's definitely medium, and that's okay. Now the last thing here is profitability. And yes, we can look at the price points, which seem to be doing, you know, so off to a really good start. But the best thing that we could possibly do in the time that we have left now is to go on Alibaba, get what we would call like an estimated price per unit on one of these toys, these dog buttons here, and run it through. We'll show you here. We have a net profit or FBA profit calculator, and see if this idea is even profitable. If it's not profitable, that's a deal breaker. So what do we say? We now look at the profitability.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I already have Alibaba pulled up here. Gonna take a main keyword here. Let me go back actually. And it looks like just maybe dog buttons for communication. I could probably just get away with copy and pasting that into Alibaba here. So may have to dig around and try to find the right product here, because I guess maybe going back to the extension, you know, these are all basically the same. I bet some are in an 8-pack, some are like in a 6-pack, but you get the general idea. I guess you can sell in however many packs you want. So here's an option right here. Looks like you can connect them.
Okay.
That's a very high price, so I'm sure that's not what we would want to buy here. Okay, $1 to $35. These are really big price swings, but maybe down here to be more accurate, under $3. That sounds about right, or within $5 at least. So I'm seeing $2.50 as the max here. These $35.50, there's probably something else going on in the listing where they're offering a huge quantity for it.
Yeah.
So maybe what we'll do is open one of these up. These ones look exactly like the ones that we see on Amazon. So pull up these two. I see $1 to $2, basically the same thing here, and just confirm. A lot of times you can come on this listing here and you'll see like they offer discounts for, you know, more quantities you buy. That's not the case here. But when you reach out, you'll get a better quote. But we're just trying to get an estimate really, really fast.
Yep.
With what we've seen so far, Lenny, on like the relevant products, we're basically guessing at this point, but it's an educated guess. Would you know, be okay with saying, you know, maybe $3, $4, basically going a little bit higher?
Yeah.
Just to cover ourselves in case.
It's always better to be a little more conservative than, be a little more conservative, and if it still checks out, then you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. I agree.
And then just real quick, I'm just gonna point out a couple of things that come to mind. Obviously, we've only got 3.5 minutes left to do this. So again, we're doing this really quickly, and this is just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of whether this could be profitable. But some other things that you would be looking at if you were considering this product is, I'd be looking into the different listings and seeing how many buttons typically come with a set. Like, is it a set of 2 or 4 and that kind of thing? Because you might find that like maybe the price that we're looking at is for a single button, but everything on Amazon, they're actually selling like 5 or 6 or that kind of thing. So those are the sorts of things that come to mind for me that we're not gonna go into right now, but the sorts of things you should be asking whenever you're looking at products.
Exactly. And so like this one is a 4-pack here, for example, and I believe the ones that we're looking at were also 4-packs.
Cool.
So maybe we'll take that $3, $4. We're being very safe here, so I find that one here again. So to find the profit calculator tool, you come over here, there's a net column listed right here, and make sure I got the right listing here. So that's a 4-pack, and you go ahead and click that net column. This is gonna now open up that profit calculator tool. And this is where we can enter our product costs and get estimates here. So we're gonna start with $3. if we're selling at the same price we're doing here of $20.95, if we were to get that product, sent into FBA for $3 all inclusive there, we'd have a pretty good profit. But we've talked about this before. The price you buy it at is not the end price. You're gonna have to ship it into Amazon from overseas and then into Amazon. There's probably gonna be some other costs along the way. So we typically like to add a few dollars to make up for that. So what do you feel comfortable with here, Lenny? I say we grossly overestimate this because you can see the ROI percentage is 368%. For context, we like to look for products that are at least 100% or close to it. So we have a lot of room to still kind of increase our price here.
Yeah.
What do you think, double it even?
I'd probably double it, yeah, just be super conservative.
So even if we doubled our price to $6 landed, with everything included, outside of course, like advertising, even like storage cost in Amazon, you could calculate that here and add a few dollars per unit, but if you wanted to be even more safe, I guess we can basically find our break even at this point, Lenny, is what's $7? $7 gets us that 100 at that price. But what we would probably do is a little bit further here with the last minute remaining is another step that we just don't have time yet today is look at the lowest prices and say, okay, we're probably gonna have to start there because we're gonna have to convince people to buy our product with 0 reviews. So what happens if we actually sell this product at $19.99 at our worst case scenario price point? That then drops our ROI down to 90, 89%. That's not bad. You don't need to start at 100, but you need to have a plan in place to get you to 100. So our plan would be if we get it at $7 to eventually bring it back up to $21 or whatever the case is. $22 gets us well above it. And then we can actually probably even increase our cost here, our worst case scenario cost, increase our prices. Again, the average price was $32. So I mean, we could really probably price it in between there eventually. But that's what we're looking at as well is the worst case scenario price landed and the price that you could sell your product at in the beginning.
Yeah, and then just to kind of add on that, you mentioned that in the future, we'd be looking to potentially increase our product price. The inverse of that as well is that in the future, we'd also be looking to sort of decrease our product cost by, generally by purchasing more from a supplier, you'll be able to get that, that product cost down, or being able, if you can get more shipping efficiencies, there's generally ways to start bringing that price down as well. So there's a couple of different ways to kind of increase that overall profit amount.
Yeah, I think this is a good product. That was even just running some other worst case scenarios here. If we were to actually increase our product price to $10 and price it at the average, which was $31 in the sub niche, we'd still be profitable. So I like this product. Now, like to your point, we need to make sure okay, we're selling the right pack size, 4-pack, 6-pack, 8-pack. If there's a lot of sellers here, we may even want to differentiate in some way outside of a pack size. Maybe it's a toy included, or maybe there's like a mat or something else that we could look into further. But what do you say we now add this product to our product tracker, which is what we've been doing all season long in this series. That way we can keep track of it, and we might even have like a fun video at the end where we pick a product and maybe look into selling it more. So
yeah, let's do that. So we'll come back to the product tracker at the end and we'll show you what that is and why you would use it. While Jake does that, I'm gonna answer a couple of quick questions here. So the first question that I'm gonna answer here is, and if it will appear on screen correctly, but the question is, how about the fact that the item requires battery and testing? Aren't we trying to stay away from those? That is a good point. So that is something that we often do talk about is, particularly when you're starting out, you want to stay away from things that are electronic. And the reason being that there's just more chance for that product to break down and go wrong. One of the things that I did note as we were looking through this listing is that there was a number of listings that were rated under 4 stars, like 3.8 and so forth. Generally, anything under 4 stars is it's kind of bad for Amazon. Just thinking about the product itself, most likely that's probably because it doesn't work. Maybe the buttons work, but whether or not the actual training behind it, whether you can actually get your dog to communicate with these buttons. I know there's a lot of controversy there between people that think that it does work and then people that don't. So potentially, if you dug into the reviews, you might see that some of the reason for that is just purely due to the training and not the actual product itself. Or you might find people are giving it poor reviews because the button itself, the electronics, isn't working. So Yeah, good point. That is definitely something that I would consider as well. Again, it's super hard to be doing these examples as we go along, but I think in showing you that example, there was a lot of other useful things that we talked through, but certainly the fact that it's electronic does count against it. And as we're gonna talk about later, once you've found a few different product ideas, you're gonna start stacking the pros and cons against each other. So this one might have a ton of demand, reasonably low competition, but maybe it has, it's electronic. So that sort of is a con, and we're gonna compare all of these pros and cons later. One last question before we get into the next section of product research is, hey guys, what does improvement potential mean? So what I actually just mentioned is a good example of that, and that's looking into the reviews, particularly the poor reviews, 1-star, 2-star reviews, and seeing what do people not like about this product, and then how can you improve that? So just simple examples, people might say like, oh, I hate the color of these buttons or something. And that could be something you take to your supplier and say, hey, I'm gonna, can we produce this in a different color? Or maybe if they keep breaking down, like dogs are maybe destroying the button, you would go to your supplier and say, hey, is there a thicker plastic or a stronger material that we could make these from? And so that's what improvement potential means. It means it's a product that has the opportunity to be improved. Mostly talking about the product itself, but it could also apply to the marketing. Alrighty, so I know that we went a little bit over our 15 minutes there, but what do you say we jump into another product example? And yeah, let's jump right in.
Awesome.
All right, get started. I am just gonna have to, I'm gonna have to get this timer set up manually. Whoops.
Awesome.
Where is it? Okay.
Okay.
Feel free to get started.
Yes, okay. All right, so on to strategy 2 now. So we're gonna be using a different tool this time, a different Jungle Scout tool. So this one is the product database. So I'm gonna now walk you through a different strategy. We earlier did a strategy looking for products that hit everything, low competition, high demand, and high profitability. We're gonna do the exact same thing here, but add a little twist to it. So remember, we're selling in the United States in our case. We're doing pet supplies in our case again. And let's now go through our filters. So again, $20 minimum price. I'll go through this a little bit quicker now. $70 max price. Minimum sales, we're looking for 300. And we could do a few other things here that we couldn't do on the opportunity finder. So for competition, we look at the reviews here. So typically we would start with maybe more of an open number like 200, then work our way down to 100. So maybe I'll just keep it open, or maybe go in the middle there, 150 maximum reviews. And just a quick note, the product database is different from the opportunity finder, whereas the opportunity finder is looking at sub niches, so basically like keywords. And in this case, product database is looking at products first. So we're gonna have to do a little bit more research with the product database. We're gonna have to actually verify the niche after we find a product. Now, a couple of things that we can do here differently that we couldn't do previously. So I'm gonna actually take this seller type filter and add FBA and FBM. That way we weed out Amazon being the seller in any listing. We just don't wanna look at Amazon selling products. You're gonna do really good regardless. And then for product tier, these are products that standard would be basically fit in a shoebox, and oversized would be pretty big and would have bigger costs associated with, so shipping as well as storage costs. So we can filter that out as well. Now, one thing I like to do is we actually just talked about improvement potential. One way of improving a product is improving the product itself. And especially with private label, you do want to improve the product first and foremost. Another way of improving the product, so improving potential, is improving the listing itself. So especially if you're doing wholesale. Wholesale is a very popular business model where people are jumping on existing listings and optimizing them. So this listing quality score filter here at the very bottom allows us to enter a score of 1 to 10, 10 being a very strong listing, 1 being very poor listings. That way we can see listings that need improvement potential. So we can do that here. We can actually add a maximum, or we could use the minimum and maximum star rating. So it's the exact same thing. One's looking at ratings, or I'm sorry, one's looking at listings, and the other one's looking at the product itself. So that's something that we could do. We could add maybe like 3.5. Show me all the products that have a maximum rating of 3.5. I'm just gonna do the listing quality score here. It's good to be open and then go back and filter out some of these products. So adding more filters. I'm gonna also exclude top brands, so we're not looking at like Adidas or anything. even though they're probably not selling pet supplies. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and search using these parameters here. And then we'll see what results we have, and maybe we do need to filter further as well. Another thing that you could actually do is, I like to do this later on, but looking for products that were just launched in the past year or a certain date range using this filter here. So now that we've loaded up about 730 results, that's pretty big.
Nice.
This is where, you maybe want to come back up to the top here and filter for different, parameters, tighten things up a bit, or just use these filters here, sort by, different types of products. So,
yeah.
So our strategy here, Lenny, I'm thinking we look for products that we can improve the listing on, and potentially, obviously, the product as well. Just add a little bit of a twist to, what we would usually be looking at, because that is something we want to do. You do want to improve the product, and you do want to have a great listing. So let's now look through these products. We're basically just going to look at the images, look at the titles, see if anything catches our eye that sounds interesting. Everything's going to be in the pet supplies category. And two, a point that we've talked about in the past is maybe don't want to sell anything with batteries or electronic or things that can break, but it's still good to look into it. So if anything here catches your eye, Lenny, these are wide cat bowls and raised for vomiting. So to avoid vomiting, I imagine they do vomit for some reason, and a taller bowl helps them with that. Could be interesting to look into. Vet wrap. These are no-pull harnesses. Imagine those are pretty popular. Light bulbs we don't want to sell.
Light bulbs breakable.
Very breakable. We already sell basically a pee pad, so we don't need to look at that. Maybe we do look at these bowls here. So we know all the criteria meets, what we're looking for. We see the monthly revenue and sales match. The average price is $27, so that's good on that product. But remember, we're just looking at a single product now. We need to verify the niche. So to do that, let's open up the listing. And just one more step that we need to do here is take the main keyword. You can either guess what the main keyword here is, or with this button on the extension, you can actually go to Keyword Scout and find the main keyword. So I'm pretty sure it's probably just going to be, raised cat food bowls.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's probably the most basic way of doing it. And then searching that and then pulling up the extension here, or just looking at the products here and looking at their overlays. So with about 10 minutes, Lenny, I think we got to get to it and see hopefully if this is a good product. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to include it, or we have to look at a different product here.
Okay.
So what are you seeing here, Lenny, maybe let's start with demand on this product.
Cool. If we're looking at demand here, again, like top listing, 14,000, 2,000, 800, 2,000, 2,000. Looks like there's
demand.
Okay, so I think we can just quickly say, yep, there's tons of demand here. So sort of ticking that box. Now, if we come over to low competition, ideally, and we're looking at the rating numbers, here it's interesting. We're seeing much higher numbers than the last product we looked at. 32,000 at the top, nearly 3,000. I'd be calling this quite competitive.
Absolutely. Probably agree with that opportunity score here.
Yeah.
One thing we can do on this, so it's, we actually sold a high competition product. We're not very experienced, but we have experience selling on Amazon. If you're not experienced, you may want to this would probably be a good opportunity to leave and try to find a different product. But what you could also do, and the extension is very powerful because of this, you could actually filter these results just like we did on the Opportunity Finder and Product Database. So what I would kind of like to do now is to know how many products here sell our minimum threshold of 300, were launched in the past year. And that's basically, we can also use the review number or rating number as well. But I'm just curious to see how many of these products, probably put our price point in there as well, are in our price point, sell 300 a month, and were launched this past year. Are any sellers? Okay, about 4 sellers here have found success in their first year selling. So if we look at their average rating number as 270, it's mostly heavily weighted by this guy at the top, and the bottom here of over 400 and 500. But these sellers down here, so on the search results, you can see this column over here. They're ranked 14, 16, 25, and 26 respectively. So, that's not that bad. In the first year, these sellers are on page 1, and they're all above our threshold. So that's a pretty good indicator to me. It's not going to be easy to compete with the sellers that we just looked at, but this is a really good data point to see, is it possible to sell a high competition product in this sub niche? So yeah, any thoughts here, Lenny? Like, would you maybe consider searching for this product if you were going to sell it on Alibaba?
Yeah, I mean, I think for this example, it would make sense to kind of like follow through the example. Yes, there is a big flag there about the competition levels, but
Yeah.
you know, like Jake mentioned earlier, we actually did sell a high competition product, the one that you're looking at here, the reusable dog pads. The listings that we were competing against there all had sort of thousands of reviews here. So yes, I know that I'm sounding contradictory to what we say about looking for low competition. Low competition is the easiest thing to sell. Like it's just going to be a lot easier than selling a high competition product. But you know, the little asterisk there is that if you are more experienced, it is possible to do. It just takes generally more time and more money, basically, to do it. So preferably look for low competition product, but also it can be possible. So just keep that in mind. But let's keep going with this example just to show people, let's say that this wasn't, let's say that this was medium to low competition. What would our next steps be here?
Our next step here is, yeah, exactly. Going back to Alibaba, I do want to make one little, suggestion here is it looks like these are the ones that we're looking at are ceramic, so they would potentially be prone to breaking. That's something that would be kind of scary to start selling because you need to make sure it's really packaged correctly.
Yeah, and so that would be something as well that, again, I'd be looking, if I was spending more time and not 10 minutes, I'd be looking at the reviews there and seeing, are there many reviews that are talking about it breaking or not? So that's a really great point.
Yeah, good point. And I'm seeing here the listing quality scores are all 6. The ratings are actually pretty good, so I'm sure there are some some users who received a broken one, but for the majority, it looks pretty good. So let's just go ahead and give this a try so that we can finish the example here and go to the profitability section. So maybe just raised cat food bowls, can just copy and paste that into Alibaba now. And then potentially, maybe there is like a metal version, which is one of the ones that we saw here, and ceramic one. So let's see, this one looks ceramic. We're gonna go ahead and stick with the ceramic one just so we're, making sense when we look at the profitability. And so that one is 72 cents to $1. Some of them come with the stand, so that's actually really interesting. That's another way of making improving the product is adding something to it. So something like this is pretty interesting with like a bamboo or wooden stand. It's gonna be a little more expensive. However, this one actually is pretty nice. It's a little bit cheaper at $2.
Yeah.
That one's nice too, but I guess if we're just trying to look at a ceramic one, maybe we'll just type in ceramic, and that way we're gonna be accurate with our profitability check here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think would be like a fair price here? So these are including the stands. I'm seeing around $7.
Yeah.
$3.
Okay, so, and then what we're looking for is we're just trying to gauge the average price here. You often are gonna see outliers. You're gonna see some prices that are wildly higher and some that are like seem too cheap to be true. So we're trying to kind of gauge an idea of the average price.
It could be anywhere. Like I'm seeing as low as $1. I'm seeing as high as $10. And maybe we just kind of plug a bunch of those numbers in, and that's like our range is like $5 to like even like $10, $12.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so let's go back to the extension here. Pick a product that makes sense. So this product here looks pretty similar to something that we were just looking at. Head over to the net profit calculator. So the average price real quick of these couple products was $26. Let's go ahead and just drop that down to about $26 to be accurate here. And sorry, this one actually looks like it's not using FBA because there's no FBA fees there. So let's choose another product that is using FBA.
Okay.
And I see one here. So actually this one would be a porcelain one, or I'm sorry, porcelain, ceramic. So let's drop that price down to $25.99, and then add a product cost of what we said, like $10 on the max. Not looking good if we were to get it in for $10 and sell it at that price range. We would probably need to sell it for a little bit more. So closer to probably $30 is what $31 would probably get us at 100% profit margin. So, or ROI percentage. So this is a product where there's a lot wrong with it. There's a lot good. There's a lot good with it. But
right.
I'm so far. We'd want to reach out and actually get better quotes, but this so far isn't looking that good. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. So Again, I know it sounds like we're kind of guessing here, but it's sort of a slightly educated guess. In this product research stage, you're just trying to line up 5 to 10 different product ideas. What the next step would be is that you'd be reaching out to these suppliers on Alibaba to get specific quotes. So we're not skipping that step, but we're just quickly trying to get 5 to 10 products that feel like they're in the ballpark, which is why we're doing this Alibaba method. So yeah, to be honest, if there were more things right about this product, we would go that extra step and start reaching out to suppliers to find out, is it really $2 or $10? And then we would be able to come back to this calculator and do a more accurate profitability check. But again, this is just a very initial ballpark sort of check. But
yeah, and these are also just like starting points. Like we could very much easily find a different type of product similar to this, or maybe we're not using ceramic as the keyword, we're using rubber or withstand, or this is just a starting point. And if we had more than 15 minutes, we'd probably go down a bunch of different rabbit holes. So for example, like when we sold our washable pee pads, there's so many different options that we could have gone to. There was small, medium, and large sizes. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 packs. There's prints, or there's regular colors with no prints on it. There's so many different rabbit holes to go down. And so this was just one little sub niche. And we didn't really have a chance yet to go down a bunch of different rabbit holes related to raised cat food bowls. So this, again, is a starting point. You'd want to research a bunch of different like sub niches within it. But so far, you kind of saw a good example of a good product and a good example of what we found so far to be a not good product.
Yeah, I know we've only got a minute here. We don't have time to go through another whole example, but perhaps we could just spend a minute going back to the results and just talking through a couple of results that, or like the things that we're thinking about as we look at these results as, that's probably like helpful for people watching.
Let's do that, yeah. So we're here now back on the product database.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing? I mean, a lot of clothes is what I've saw so far, which clothes aren't bad, but it's kind of tough because you need a bunch of different sizes.
Yes, definitely.
And I wouldn't exclude looking at it that further, but just to know that's going to be a hiccup. Washable pee pads that we sell already. These are dog sweaters. That's interesting.
Yeah, so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that should be simple to put together. It's definitely not breakable. Dog sweaters, though, one thing with pet products is, sometimes dogs might tend to tear things apart. So just keep in mind, is this something that might get torn a lot?
A bathing tool set. I believe we looked at something like this in the past. That's not a bad idea. There's nothing, like electric in there, so it's not a horrible idea. It fits in that pet category. This could be a fun product to sell.
Yeah, there are a few different parts there, but it mightn't be, they might be simple enough parts that there's not too many breakages or anything like that.
Seen a lot of sweaters for dogs, but that's kind of good because there's so many different designs out there and sizes for different dogs.
So yeah, when you're thinking about differentiating yourself, improvement potential like we talked about before, then sometimes design can be a great way to do that.
Absolutely. There's a quality, there's design, there's the listing, there's so many different ways to improve the product.
Yeah, bundling is also another really great one that you should consider as well.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can't improve the product itself, but maybe there's something that's quite often bought with that product. So that's another way to differentiate and something else to be thinking about.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about our products, so the washable pee pads for dogs. We often find on the listing, which I can pull up real quick here, that there's always going to be a product or two in this frequently bought with section. In this case, it is currently these pee pads, but I've seen almost every other day I check these puppy playpens, basically. So people are buying our pee pads and they're putting them in these playpens or these whelping boxes. So that's a product that we potentially could have sold together as a bundle for a lot higher price and get a little better profit out of it. So yeah.
Okay.
We ran out of our time.
We did run out of time, so maybe we can real quick talk about what the next steps would be, which would be going over to the product tracker and why you might consider adding these product ideas that you find to the product tracker.
Yep. So if you've been following along, this is our 7th episode, and as you can see here, we found a lot of products so far in a bunch of different categories. Today, unfortunately, only found one in the pet category, but I'm excited about it. I think it's a really good product. So we added all these products, what did I add? Like the top 19 products into the product tracker here, which you can see and track all this information over time. So it's gonna be really helpful just to have this information on hand, and you can even click into a certain product to go back and quickly see things. My favorite thing is I love to add notes on certain products as I go along and just store my thoughts in there. But yeah, I think, like we've always talked about, like you want to have a lot of different products to choose from, and using a tool like the product tracker, you could use Excel as well, is perfect for this, because this is exactly how the P-pads were found. We had so many different products to choose from, and the P-pads really checked most of the boxes. So anything that you see here or want to sort of talk about into the dog buttons, they are doing very well. Everything we looked at was really strong for me. Like the price point is really strong. The sales are pretty strong.
Yeah. So essentially the product tracker is really great once you've got those, say, 5 to 10 product ideas. Now you can compare them all up against each other. And you're not just comparing an individual listing, you're comparing sort of a good representation of the niche, like the top 10 to 20 listings for the main keyword. So now you can go through and look at, say, the average daily sales and revenue to compare demand between the different ideas. You can then hop over to the reviews column, and now you're able to compare how competitive on average each one is against each other. And then you can start looking at, say, the average price and perhaps the average net amount there, which is just subtracting Amazon's fees. And that gives you sort of a brief idea of profitability. Again, you do need the product cost to be more accurate, but the higher the average net amount is more likely to be more profitable. So this is a great tool to help you compare ideas once you've found a few. So that wraps up our product research session today. If you did get some value from it, do let us know by hitting the like button down below. Also, do keep in mind that this is just the first step of what we call a 9-step process to selling on Amazon. This is the first step of finding products. If you would like to see all the rest of the steps, then make sure to watch our next video on how to sell on Amazon, which gives you the complete blueprint. Thanks for watching today, and see you in the next video.